And on the occasion of the 63rd anniversary of the recovery of national sovereignty over Algerian radio and television, a commemorative ceremony was held yesterday here in Algiers at the headquarters of the radio to reaffirm the symbolic significance of this event in consolidating national media independence. The ceremony was held or attended by senior officials, including the Minister of Communication, Minister of War Veterans, and media representatives and staff from both institutions. In a statement to the press on the sidelines of the ceremony, the Minister of Communication hailed the anniversary as a turning point in reclaiming media sovereignty, praising the journalists who upheld broadcasting after independence and urging the new generation to preserve their legacy through credible, high-quality public service. He stressed that mastering AI is key to the future, affirming Algeria's ability to harness technology and strengthen ties with its community abroad.
لكل زمن تحدياته وتحديات الإعلام في هذا الزمن.
Each era has its own challenges, and the challenges of the media in our time are to keep up with the stakes and challenges of the digital transformation, this revolution that we have no choice but to rise to. Those who control artificial intelligence today will control the world and the future. Today, we have the capabilities, our youth, and the skills that can master, control, and harness these technological transformations to improve the service. Congratulations to these achievements, especially as they reach our children abroad. This is also very important because the President always emphasizes the need to build the greatest number and the strongest bridges with members of our community abroad.
For his part, the advisor to the President of the Republic in charge of Directorate General of Communication, Kamal Sidi Said, recalled that the event marked a key milestone in Algeria's independence and media sovereignty, praising those who maintained broadcasting with Algerian expertise and highlighting President Tebboun's commitment to national media through regular meetings with journalists. He viewed the integration of AI and the launch of a new digital platform as key steps in modernizing national media and expanding Algeria's radio reach at home and abroad.
رفعت تحدي الرقمنة وكذلك إدماج الذكاء الاصطناعي.
Meeting the digital challenge and integrating artificial intelligence is a positive step within the framework of reforming the national media system, particularly all audiovisual outlets, including radio and television. Today, the National Radio launched a digital platform that serves as a means to promote the national radio across the country, as well as among the Algerian diaspora around the world.
في العالم.
For his part, the General Director of Algerian Radio, Mr. Adel Slaqji, announced two new digital platforms, one expanding Algerian radio's reach at home and abroad, and another using AI to analyze content and monitor its media strategy, both created by the institution's own talents.
I'm pleased to announce the development and launch of two digital platforms, marking a major step forward in the digital transformation of Algerian radio. First, a platform through an application that enables our audience to listen to the radio via various means of transport and all vehicles equipped with digital media with higher quality and greater speed. It allows access to Algerian radio everywhere, both inside the country and abroad, targeting our national community overseas to keep Algeria's voice close to its children wherever they are, reaffirming our role in making Algeria's voice heard worldwide. The second achievement is an advanced artificial intelligence platform that processes the content broadcast across Algerian radio's various channels and provides precise analysis and statistics along with virtual control panel that allows us to monitor the implementation of the institution's media strategy with accuracy and objectivity. I am pleased to emphasize that these platforms are the result of the work, effort, and creativity of talents from within our institution.
Meanwhile, regional directorates of radio and television also mark the anniversary with ceremonies in memory of journalists and technicians who contributed to regaining national sovereignty over the two institutions. To Western Sahara, now Sahrawi human rights organizations continue to denounce the blockade imposed on the occupied part of Western Sahara, rejecting the colonialist logic of the Moroccan occupier and demanding respect for the right of the Sahrawi people to self-determination. Said Bougazi reports.
The collective of Sahrawi human rights defenders in Western Sahara, CODISA, denounced the blockade imposed by the Moroccan occupying forces on the occupied regions in order to prevent the inhabitants from organizing demonstrations against the colonial fait accompli policy and to demand that the United Nations respect its commitments to the Sahrawi people and their right to self-determination. A member of the administrative committee of CODISA, Hassan Zerouali, reported that the population rejected the increasingly suffocating blockade imposed by the occupation, which fears a popular uprising. He assured that the Sahrawi people's right to self-determination and independence was non-negotiable, insisting that the settlement of the Sahrawi question cannot be achieved without the holding of a free and honest referendum on self-determination, as agreed by the two parties to the conflict in 1991, according to the UN-OAU settlement plan. He added that any attempt to impose occupation will fail in the face of the will of the Sahrawi people to conquer their freedom and independence, calling on the international community to end the occupation in the last colony of the African continent in implementation of the UN decisions and under international law in order to preserve international peace and security. Many human rights associations had already expressed their attachment to international legality and the right of the Sahrawi people to self-determination, highlighting the Sahrawi people's willingness to fight for their freedom and independence. These associations believe that the Sahrawi question is not a regional conflict but a question of decolonization.
You're still listening to Radio Algeria International. The UN Independent International Commission of Inquiry on the Occupied Palestinian Territories has urged member states to use all available means to ensure the continuation of the ceasefire and to provide broad international support for the Palestinian right to self-determination and the establishment of a Palestinian state. The details with Said Bougazigan.
The Commission concluded that the Zionist entity is responsible for 4 acts of genocide in Gaza with a specific intent of destroying Palestinians in the Strip, and found that the Zionist President, Prime Minister and former Defense Minister incited genocide. Commission Chair Navi Pillay said that member states must also focus on ensuring justice and accountability for all victims by supporting the International Criminal Court in its investigations and using universal jurisdiction to conduct their own investigations, including into their dual nationals suspected of crimes. Regarding Gaza, the Commission found that Zionist officials have demonstrated a clear and consistent intent to establish permanent military control over Gaza and alter its demographic composition. Civilian infrastructure and natural resources essential to the survival of the civilian population in the corridors and buffer zones have been destroyed, land fragmented, and Palestinians forcibly transferred. Zionist officials have publicly endorsed plans for population transfer, settlement construction, and land annexation. Regarding the West Bank, including occupied East al-Quds, Pillay said that Zionist policies and actions implemented since October 2023, including explicit and implicit support for the criminal actions of the colonizers, demonstrate a clear intent to forcibly transfer Palestinians, expand the Jewish civilian presence, and annex most of the West Bank. She said that the goal is to prevent any possibility of Palestinian self-determination and statehood and to maintain the occupation indefinitely, adding, "It pains me that in my last presentation as chair of this commission, the post-World War II multilateral system has failed to prevent this genocide. The inadequacies of the international system have been exposed."
And still in Palestine, the civil defense has announced the killing of at least 100 Palestinians, including 35 children and several women, in attacks by the Zionist occupation army in the Gaza Strip, despite the ceasefire agreement enforcing the Palestinian enclave. Mr. Sharfi.
Around 200 other people were injured in what Mahmoud Basil, a spokesperson for the civil defense in Gaza, described as a clear and blatant violation of the ceasefire agreement, deploring a catastrophic and terrifying situation in Gaza. Earlier, the Palestinian resistance movement Hamas had accused the Zionist entity of violations and announced the postponement of the handover of another hostage's body. In the West Bank, the Zionist occupation forces detained 44 Palestinian citizens during a raid on the Daesheh refugee camp south of Beit Lahm. A security source told the Palestinian news agency Wafa that the occupation forces raided the camp at dawn, storming numerous homes, detaining and interrogating residents for hours before releasing them amid heavy troops deployment and high tension in the area. In the same context, the occupation forces also raided the Aida refugee camp north of Beit Lahm and the city of Doha to its west without any arrests or injuries reported so far.
You're still listening to Radio Algeria International. The A3+ group of the United Nations Security Council has affirmed that the elections scheduled for December 28th in the Central African Republic represent an essential opportunity to consolidate peace and renew national unity. Mr. Ochofi reports again.
During a council meeting devoted to the situation in Central African Republic, the A3+ stressed that the upcoming elections, scheduled from December 28th, the first of their kind in 37 years, constitute a fundamental opportunity to strengthen peace, democratic institutions, and renew national unity. In this regard, the group emphasized the need for the results of these elections to be credible, transparent, and inclusive, while underlining the importance of ensuring the full participation of women, youth and displaced persons, as well as mobilizing the necessary resources for the proper organization of the vote. The group commended MINUSCA, the United Nations Development Programme, UNDP, and the partners for supporting the electoral process and stressed that broad participation by the opposition and civil society was vital to the election's credibility, urging the swift resumption of dialogue. In this context, the A3+ group praised the government's efforts to promote peace and stability through dialogue with armed groups and the implementation of the 2019 peace agreement, noting progress in disarmament and reintegration. It urged all parties to renounce violence and engage in the peace process in good faith. The group condemned militia attacks and instructions by the Rapid Support Forces, urging stronger border security and coordination. It denounced violence against civilians, called for justice and humanitarian aid for displaced persons, and reaffirmed that attacks on UN personnel are unacceptable and may constitute war crimes.
You're still listening to Radio Algeria International to Sudan now. The chairperson of the African Union Commission, Mahmoud Ali Yusuf, has condemned in the strongest terms the escalation of violence and reported atrocities in Al-Fashir, Sudan, reaffirming the AU's support and solidarity with the Sudanese people. In a press release issued on Monday following the takeover of the town by the Rapid Support Forces, the chairperson of the African Commission expressed his deep concern at the serious violations of human rights and international humanitarian law, including the ethnic killings of civilians. He reminded all parties of their obligations under international law to protect civilians and warned that the perpetrators of such heinous acts would be held accountable. In this respect, Mahmoud Ali Yusuf called for an immediate cessation of hostilities and the opening of humanitarian corridors to allow vital aid to reach the affected populations, stressing that there can be no military solution to the Sudanese crisis. Meanwhile, the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, Volker Turk, has warned that the city of Al-Fashir in western Sudan was in an extremely precarious situation with a growing risk of ethnically motivated atrocities. The Sudanese army has not officially responded to Sunday's announcement by the RSF, which had been fighting it for more than 2 years, that they had conquered this large city in Darfur, which the paramilitaries had been besieging and which was the last to escape their control. And Volker said that the risk of large-scale violations and atrocities motivated by ethnic considerations in Al-Fashir is increasing every day, calling for urgent and concrete action to protect civilians. The High Commissioner said his office had received reports of summary executions of civilians trying to flee and that there were indications of ethnic motives. He described the content of several videos showing dozens of unarmed men being shot or lying dead, surrounded by RSF, accusing them of fighting for the Sudanese army. You're still listening to Radio Algeria International, and back to the country now. The Minister of Energy and Renewable Energies, Morad Ajal, has presided in Algiers over the opening ceremony of the Joint Symposium on Non-Electrical Applications of Nuclear Energy, held over 2 days in partnership between the Atomic Energy Commission and the Russian Federal Atomic Energy Agency. Mr. Ochofi.
In his opening address, the minister recalled the deep historical ties between Algeria and Russia, noting that the symposium comes as the Algerian government prioritizes the fight against cancer and the use of nuclear medicine in line with the president's directive to direct nuclear energy investments toward medical applications such as radiotherapy and other treatments. Mr. Ajjal highlighted the diverse applications of nuclear energy in energy, agriculture, industry and water resources, including desalination and combating drought, while noting the government's program to use this technology to develop local production of radiopharmaceuticals to meet growing national demand, secure supply, and ensure constant availability. He added that this approach will reduce imports of radiopharmaceuticals, improving patient care and shorten waiting times for treatment. The minister emphasized the importance of exchanging expertise and drawing on Russia's experience through Rosatom in nuclear medicine and isotope production to enhance training, technology transfer, and the development of small modular reactors for power generation and desalination, while calling for stronger cooperation to promote the peaceful uses of nuclear energy in addressing future challenges in medicine, energy, agriculture, and water resources.
Your Citizen Radio Algeria International, and that's it for our news bulletin. I invite you now to listen to this literary program compiled and presented by Jamal Salmani.